Electric Fire Book 2, Hidden Chains, Chapter 22.
It was nice to be away from the house. As we went into the forest, we raced to a clearing. It was quiet in the forest aside from birds chattering to one another, making songs. It wasn't long before we found a dirt clearing. Then Sonic called out.
"I'm about to tie."
He smiled. He didn't seem to mind that we both had a draw. I just looked around a bit. The clearing had some shoe markings in the dirt. Seems Sonic came out here often, tying by the marks.
I usually come out here to train more. I mean, some of the trees got burnt up here, and well, it hadn't exactly been easy since after you left. I spent most of my time out here practicing. I've gotten better at keeping control over myself, but I'm still a bit unstable if I get upset. Like that night on the baseball field. I'm still working on it though.
I looked back at him as he spoke. I only nodded. Just don't hold yourself back too much. It's okay to show emotion. I don't know if that means a lot coming from me, since I try and hide my own, but I guess I have to work on something as well. Also, you shouldn't be afraid of your own power. That could lead to you down a dark path. I've been there before. It's another reason why I'm feared by others. Sonic just looked into my eyes from where he stood. He looked a bit surprised by my response. I thought he was about to reply, but instead, he walked over to me, and then I was in a tight embrace. I didn't return it though. I was stunned on whatever had come over him. Sure, I'm not exactly used to affection much. Sonic didn't seem to mind though. Before I knew it, he had let go of me, and then he gently punched my left shoulder.
Well, do you feel like fighting now?
He smirked. I was just a bit confused by his actions, but I smirked back. In response, before giving him a nod, and before getting into a fighting stance, Sonic did the same.
Just don't get carried away. We aren't in a real fight. This is just for training in case we have to fight a tough opponent like those metal copies of us.
I already knew this, but I wasn't one to go easy on an opponent. Sonic seemed to do the same. We countered in our first attempt to attack one another. We both curled up into our ball form and crashed into one another. I rolled on top of him before uncurling in midair. My right hand brushed against Sonic's quills as he rolled past me. I then curled up as I got closer to the ground. I would have crashed in the dirt back first if I hadn't curled up. I wasn't hurt or anything. No damage was done. I uncurled once in the dirt and got up. Sonic stood next to a tree. Seemed he waited for me to get up before attacking me again. This time, he ran over to try and punch me, but I teleported behind him and kicked him from behind. It wasn't very hard though. He fell onto his arms in the dirt before turning around to face me. He gave me a smile before getting up and brushing himself off, before continuing. This continued on for a while, just us fighting, spin dashing, homing attacks, chaos spear, punching, and kicking. Yes, Sonic dodged my chaos spear attack. He was fine once our training session had ended. After the training, I sat down on a tree stump to calm down for a minute or two. Sonic sat in a mossy patch near where I was. A light breeze came through. Sonic and I were worn out. It felt like we had fought for hours. We didn't exactly know what time it was, but it didn't exactly matter. A little while later, we heard wrestling. We both turned to see where it was coming from. I caught up, ready to fight. Again, Sonic did the same. Stayed behind me, I spoke before walking ahead to where the wrestling came from. Sonic followed behind. I stopped a couple of feet away from whatever it was. Sonic accidentally stepped on my shoe, but I said nothing. I didn't notice. My focus was on whatever it was that was making that noise. But then Sonic grabbed my arm.
Shadow, we got company.
I looked back and noticed a figure in the distance where Sonic was looking. I could see glowing red eyes. It had a similar structure to me. I was now starting to regret the training session. I saw something move from the corner of my eye. I looked only to see another figure, but it had crouched down behind a rock. This was starting to feel like an ambush. Sonic decided to let go of my arm. I sensed his fear, but he took one step forward, getting ready to fight for real, facing towards the figure he had noticed before he alerted me. I just stood where I was. I faced the other one that was hiding behind a rock. Seemed our training session was now getting interesting. I'll handle this one. You just try and take that one out, I spoke up before leaving Sonic's side. I had faith in him. I hoped he'd be able to handle himself. As I pounced on the figure, just as I had expected, it was Metal Sonic. I was able to hold him down for only a second. I guess I underestimated his strength. He was able to toss me off him pretty quickly. I was tossed to the side, falling into dirt before he picked me up again and slammed me into a tree hard. It hurt. I could feel the splinters on my face, but I wasn't one to give up easily. I fell limp on the ground. I was pretty much playing though. Metal Sonic turned to leave, probably to help his buddy, my own robotic clone. I could see Sonic. He was doing his best against my figure. I got up and lunged at Metal Sonic. With my remaining strength, I summoned a Chaos Spear, and I was able to take out one of his arms with the attack. He didn't see it coming. Sonic was unleashing his energy as well, trying to fend for himself, but my clone seemed to be too much for him. I had to hurry up and end my fight in order to go help him. Metal Sonic turned to face me. His left arm was limp, and some sparks flew from where the spear dislocated the arm. Seemed this guy had some weak points. I just smirked before curling up into a ball and spin dashing toward him. Sonic decided to try and let loose a blast of lightning, this time as a final act. The blast was large, causing me to miss the robot, but even our copies couldn't stand that blast. It seemed to only affect our area. Once it was over, I stood up. I leaned against a tree before looking around. A bit of pieces of metal laid on the ground, but our copies were still intact. Only small pieces of metal was on the ground. Sonic ran over to me.
We gotta go. I think I always saved us some time so we can go. They won't be down for long.
He took me by the arm, and that was when I decided to use the last of my own strength to get us back to Tom and Maddie's. I teleported us there in the living room before I collapsed and fell unconscious due to the energy loss. Last thing I saw was Sonic asking if I was okay, but I didn't reply. Sleep was taking over everything. Faded to black around me.
Robotnik's point of view.
It took a long time before my robots had returned. Both were heavily beaten up. Metal Sonic was worse than the Shadow Android. It was already bad enough that Green Hills Police Force had a warrant for my arrest. But my poor Metal Sonic, he had lost an arm during his mission to find and capture that blue hedgehog, along with that traitor. It's hard enough, I have to say, outside of the border from Green Hills, but seems I need to update Metal Sonic, which could take a day or so. My Shadow Android was going to need an upgrade as well. He took quite a lot of damage as well. Maybe perhaps I should try and bring in some reinforcements to try and get that traitor off my tail.
Shadow's point of view.
When I woke up, I was on the table in the kitchen. A blanket was underneath me. Maddie was holding something above me. Well, in front of my nose. There was some kind of smell. I sniffed whatever it was, and it was strong. It was some kind of salt. I recognized it from somewhere, but that feeling quickly left. Tom was holding me in place at the moment. I didn't make any attempts to leave, though he let go of my arms.
Well, take it easy there, Shadow.
Maddie spoke softly. I only nodded in response. I didn't see Sonic though. I wondered if he was okay. After all that had happened, my memory was coming back now. Well, from the events with those metal fakers. I let out a sigh, guessing maybe Sonic was blaming himself for me being somewhat injured. His blast didn't exactly do much on me, only a few bruises and burns, but nothing I can't handle. But then again, I was given a mark on my face. I was only able to notice when I looked into a mirror, though Tom told me I had a scratch there, but curiosity caused me to go into the bathroom to check it out in a mirror. Just a battle scar. I've been through tough stuff, but this was the first mark to ever be seen. It was more of a scratch. It wasn't exactly a scar yet, and it missed my eye by an inch. It stung a little, but again, nothing I couldn't handle. I was able to get off the table on my own after Maddie checked to make sure I was fine enough. I went to the mirror first before going upstairs to find Sonic, sitting on his bed. He was looking up at the ceiling, looking out at the sky through the large window. He had a glum expression on his face. He didn't notice that I was in the room, so I just walked over to him. "Sonic?" He then turned toward me, but once he saw me, he perked up, and before I knew it, he was hugging me again.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cause that big of a blast.
He spoke up, but I didn't reply. I just returned the embrace, showing that I accepted his apology.